Based off the recent injury news to a lot of notable Atlanta Falcons players, is it high time the Atlanta Falcons make a major change to the starting lineup? For the love of God, I absolutely hope so. Welcome in, Falcons fans, to Falcons Today by Chat Sports. My name is Moose. Now, let's talk about these injuries real quick before we get into the major changes the Falcons should make to their starting lineup. Michael Penix Jr. is out for the season. Season-ending IR for the fifth time in 8 years, which is absolutely insane to think about. Drake London is now week to week, but it is pretty much confirmed that he is going to miss the New Orleans Saints game, and Divine Diablo is set to come back this week against the Saints. So we should see at least a couple of old faces come back, which is very, very nice to see, considering Divine Diablo is playing like the best Atlanta Falcons defender up until the point where he got injured. So let's talk about the elephant in the room. Kirk Cousins. He's starting for the remainder of the season. This is the opportunity for Kirk Cousins to show out for a final team, because I still truly believe Kirk Cousins is not going to be on this football team next season. I just don't think the Falcons want to incur that salary, and I also don't think that they like what they've seen from him this football season. Maybe not even an on-the-field thing, but remember, he requested a trade right before the trade deadline, and it just was non-stop drama surrounding Kirk. But he's only played 90 snaps, 250 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 INTs. These numbers, pedestrian at best and below average, most likely. Here's the main question, though. Who's Kirk going to throw to? Because Drake London's done. Darnell Mooney is still fighting injuries, and he's got a drop problem. Kyle Pitts floats in and out of the lineup, not literally, but like on the field. And looking at the Falcons wide receiver depth chart, slim pickings right now. Agnew and Hodge, those are special teams players. David Sills, non-factor. Casey Washington, non-factor. Darnell Mooney is your next best. And we have yet to see the performance from Darnell Mooney this football season. So my main question to you, Raheem, my main question to you, Zach Robinson, and ultimately Terry Fontenot, let's activate some players. You have to. You have to activate the players. You got 3 wide receivers just chilling on the practice squad. For the love of God, give us something to look forward to. These undrafted rookies, Nick Nash. Can we just see what they look like? Please, you put in Kobe Bryant. We clamored for that. Now you got to do the same. Because the Falcons pass catchers, not named Drake London, have looked like this. Kyle Pitts is your best. And Kyle Pitts, mind you, last week had 2 receptions for 14 yards. Casey Washington, weren't we just gushing over Casey Washington in the preseason? Oh my God, the coaches loved him. 6 receptions, 94 yards. Darnell Mooney, legitimate certified number 2, injured, and now 16 receptions for 224 yards total on the season. I'm telling you right now, you have to go get Nick Nash. You have to go get Chris Blair, and you have to get Dylan Drummond. You have to activate at least 2 of them. I understand that if you activate certain players enough times, 3 times from the practice squad, you've got to pay them an actual salary. You cannot be handicapped now based off of the way your season is by the dollar amounts. Because let's be completely honest, it's pennies for what you're actually going to pay these guys. I just need to see that either one of those guys can have a legitimate spot on this roster next year. Mainly Nick Nash. But we're going to break down a couple of these guys here later on in the episode. Before I do that, do the Falcons need to activate more players? It doesn't even just have to be those 2. Should they just pluck from the practice squad? I think they absolutely should. Type A for activate, type D for decline. Either way, let me know in the comment section down below. Now, like I said, coming up, I'm going to tell you why Chris Blair and why Nick Nash can help this team. And it's way more than just the obvious they need more bodies at the wide receiver position. Before I do that, I got to tell you about my friends over at Factor. Fall is here, and the craving for something absolutely delicious comes in handy with Factor. But It always does feel like a reset when you're back to school. Busier routines, shorter days. Finding time to cook can be tough. And that's why I personally love Factor. Their chef prep, dietitian-approved meals make it easy to stay on track and enjoy something comforting and delicious. No matter how hectic the season gets, you can support your wellness goals. Enjoy even more GLP-1-friendly meals and new Mediterranean diet options packed with protein and good-for-you fats. You can also savor global flavors for the first time. Try Asian-inspired meals with bold flavors influenced by China, Thailand, and more. For more choices to better nutrition, that's why 97% of customers say that Factor helped them live a healthier life. Feel the difference, no matter your routine. Eat smart at factormeals.com/FalconsChat50 off and use code FalconsChat50 off to get 50% off your first box plus free breakfast for 1 year. That's code FalconsChat50 off at factormeals.com for 50% off your first box plus free breakfast for 1 year. Get delicious, ready-to-eat meals delivered with Factor. Offer only valid for new Factor customers with code and qualifying auto-renewing subscription purchase. All of that in the comments and description of today's video. Well, Moose, let's break down real quick what we see from Nick Nash and Chris Blair. Oh, I'm so glad you asked me to do that. Thank you. I will take it from here. The pros surrounding Nick Nash. Profound spacing concepts in zone coverage. If there's one player I trust to find the soft spot of his zone, it's Nick Nash. He's got natural ball tracking ability. So when that ball comes in, he doesn't have the drop problem. He doesn't turn his body too quick to avoid contact. He's going to stand there, catch the ball, plant his foot, make a football move, and drive forward. He's also got an imposing 6'3", 200-pound frame. He's a big-bodied kid that can get it done in space if you let him. Now, what are some of the cons? Because he's not a perfect player. There's a reason he was undrafted. He's not great in his release off the line of scrimmage yet. He needs that little bit more burst. His press coverage in man-to-man, despite his 6'3", 200-pound frame, is not nearly as strong as you would like. And his route mechanics, they need a little bit more work. They're not bad. They're just not nearly as crisp and as sharp as some of the other wide receivers in the NFL. But I think what we really saw against the Cowboys that last preseason game was that Nick Nash has the ability to get it done. He didn't just play well against the Cowboys. He really dominated that game from a wide receiver perspective. Granted, it is preseason. It's against guys that are on the practice squad. It's against guys that are no longer on the team, guys that got cut. But what I saw from Nick Nash was enough to say he deserves a spot on the practice squad, and then eventually you can elevate him and see what he's got. What do the Falcons have to lose not activating Nick Nash? Because best case scenario, he's a legitimate wide receiver 3 or wide receiver 4, and he's got a roster spot. Worst case scenario, he stinks, and you send him down back to the practice squad. No harm, no foul. You're 3-7. You got nothing to lose at this point. That brings me to my next guy, Chris Blair. Different player. Not nearly as fast, not nearly as great a hands as Nick Nash, but he's strong. He's powerful, and he's got big playmaking ability. Also currently on the Falcons practice squad. Those explosive play tendencies were something that were on full display during the preseason. He's a stronger player with a huge frame. 6'2", 218. I guess is a thick, trunky, coastal guy. Not to sound like my boy Colin Cowherd. Also, that preseason production that we saw, he was clearly the best wide receiver on the field in the preseason. It's not an argument. The cons, bit of a drop problem, doesn't have the surest hands. He's slower at that wide receiver position, which means he's not nearly as big of a vertical threat as you would like him to be. I can bypass all of that because, one, the Falcons need pass catchers, and two, if you're giving me explosive plays, something the Falcons have not had all season long, for the love of God, it just makes for a better football product. Zach, Raheem, Terry, you recognize that you are falling down the tubes of the NFL. Make an adjustment. Because in the preseason, you saw what this guy is capable of. Even if it is against lower tier talent, he has moments. And he was activated last year. So he's already got familiarity with being on the 53-man roster. So why not activate him first? Because right now, your number one wide receiver heading into the Saints week is Darnell Mooney. I think everybody got down in the comment section of last week's watch party, and they were all telling me the same thing. Man, what is going on with Mooney? I don't know. I don't know if it's a yips thing. I don't know if he's given up. I don't know if the injuries are hindering him. It could be a combination of all three for all I know. What I know is he's not catching the football. Period. Final thoughts. The current offense that you trot onto the field, now with Kirk Cousins and no Drake London, cannot function without any wide receiver help. It was pitter-pattering along. It was barely ventilating along with Michael Penix Jr. and Drake London. You'll get crushed by the Saints, who are an awful team. Awful team. If you don't have at least some talent on the offensive side of the football. It's going to be a defensive game. You're going up against Tyler Shuck. I think it's going to be a lower scoring game. But I also know this. Falcons fans, just like me, just like you, we're all craving the exact same thing. A watchable, sustainable football product that hopefully can lead us back into the W column sooner rather than later. That's all I got for you today. I do realize that a lot of you got angered by my last video. I got crucified in the comments section for doing my job, but that's fine. That's neither here nor there. I'm going to take off for the night. I'll be back tomorrow for Falcons Live, so make sure you join us at about 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. That will do it for us on today's episode. Rise up and be cool.